Hello and welcome to Business Today and India Today. I am Siddharth Zarabi and we are continuing our live programming here from the World Economic Forum in Davos. One of the key features of this forum is the presence of Indian states and the union government. But the most prominent among the 10 odd states that are here this year, and this is the biggest turnout in Davos in recent memory, is Andhra Pradesh. And the state of Andhra, Chief Minister Mr. Naidu, as well as Nara Lokesh, the IT and HRD Minister and the Chairman of a GOM on creating 2 million jobs, is here with me. Lokesh, welcome. Thank you very much for your time today. You had a extremely busy schedule, and I can only perhaps begin by asking you and coming straight to the point. What's the number of deals that you have struck so far in Davos?
See, Davos is a place where we come to have conversations. We come to learn in terms of which sector is the sunrise sector and what's the role that the state of Andhra Pradesh and India can play in that sector. So we are measuring our performance Davos to Davos. So last time when we were here, we had a conversation with Cognizant. We broke ground before we came to Davos. And before next Davos, we're going to cut the ribbon to the new facility. So we look at Davos to Davos and we're doing it across sectors. So we've had exciting conversations ranging from AI through traditional sectors like ports. So I believe that this is just the beginning of the sunrise state of Andhra Pradesh.
In terms of the sunrise states, this is not just a mention, but frankly, the data seems to support this. In the last 1 year, when one looks at data, close to a quarter of all the FDI has come into Andhra Pradesh. You spoke about one company, there are even bigger examples. And the question would be that in all the states and most states in India are trying to woo investment. How is Andhra Pradesh making it work?
Well, I think this is exciting time for India. You know, it's really exciting to see states compete. This is making us get a lot more sharper focus in terms of execution. So our motto as a state is speed of doing business. That is what differentiates us from other states. So companies that choose speed choose Andhra Pradesh. So the projects that were stalled in other states for over a decade, today in Andhra Pradesh are moving in less than 12 months. So we're able to execute that at a pace that is unique to our state. But I must admit, other states are giving us good competition too. So it makes us a lot sharper. It brings greater alignment between politics and bureaucracy. And this ensures that, India thrives in a global competitive landscape.
Tell me, when you focus on the speed of doing business, what about the ease of doing business? Because one would presume that that's already taken care of.
That's a byproduct of speed.
Okay.
So, the whole idea is if we have delivered on speed, then ease is there. So, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, we are decriminalizing a lot of laws. We're also working in a very systematic manner to ensure that, labor reforms are also done. And as a state, Andhra Pradesh is leading the reform cycle. And we want to be number one. And speed is not something we're going to put on a billboard and forget. This is something that we intend to deliver in spirit. And that's been our focus.
2025 at the union government level has been a year of reforms, massive reforms, taxation, both direct and indirect, labor code, nuclear power. I mean, it's a really long list, and Prime Minister Modi has already indicated that that process will continue in 2026. For Andhra Pradesh, does the trajectory mirror that's happening at the center, or have you decided on a particular kind of sequencing with regard to your reforms and execution that will work for the local needs of the state?
See, we always have to look at the reform cycle. We have to understand its implication and then implement it. Saying that, Andhra Pradesh will be the poster child of reforms. And Mr. Naidu is known for it. He's done this for the last 5 decades. So this is nothing new for him. But it's new for us. Mr. Naidu is backed by a very young team. 50% of the legislatures are first-timers. 17 out of 25 ministers are first-time ministers. So we bring in raw energy to really transform the state. So we are ready to take those reforms forward. The agenda that the Honorable Prime Minister has, we want to pilot it, we want to lead it, and we want to make Andhra Pradesh number one across every sector.
Before we go on to some of the new initiatives which I would like you to talk about, let's recap all that has happened so far. One of the most massive investments in data centers and associated infrastructure for the AI age has come into Andhra Pradesh. Google and others have come together. Why is that significant? Because data centers also are seen as the core infrastructure on which you can build the AI ecosystem?
No, see, there are naysayers also to data centers, but I believe that it's a strategically important asset for our nation. End of the day, we are one of the largest consumers of AI today, and I think it's just the beginning. Anyone who adopts to AI, who uses AI on a daily basis, will definitely have a better advantage than someone who will not use AI. Saying that, we need to build the backend, we need to build the infrastructure, and it has to be in our country. I believe that on the eastern seaboard, Andhra Pradesh has a very strategically important role to play, and Visakhapatnam is well positioned. So 3 cable landing stations are getting built out, and we have a clear policy to attract 6 gigawatts of data center investments into Andhra Pradesh. We have done 2.5 gigawatts of it. Balance also we will lock it down, and we intend to execute it at a pace.
By when do you expect to lock down the additional 3.5 gigawatt that you're talking about?
Next 12 months.
Next 12 months.
We intend to lock it down, and we want to execute all this by 2029, if not a year more.
In terms of the benefits to the state economy, what is the consequence of all these massive investments?
So let's talk about data centers alone. Again, this is a hot topic across the globe, right?
Yeah.
If you look at it in the US...
Even the US, one of the advisors to President Trump has weighed in on this. He seems to have a problem with even data center work coming to countries like India.
Yeah, everyone has their own opinions, and they're entitled to it. But I go based on data.
Yes.
And I've looked at how data centers have played a very important role in transforming certain communities in a positive manner.
Yes.
See, India that way is very well positioned now. We are able to build our power infrastructure far better than developed countries.
Yes.
Andhra Pradesh has Godavari, right? And we are at the tail end. And 3,000 cusecs of water is just, TMC of water, is going into the ocean. It's ridiculous. So we have to save that. Every drop of water can be used efficiently. With 6 gigawatts, at best we'll end up using about 4-5 TMC and not more than that. So, we have assets, we have to use it well, we have to sweat them out well. And these investments, right, and whatever we've discussed, it could be ArcelorMittal's project, it could be Cognizant's project, or various other investments that have come to my state of Andhra Pradesh. These are very, very important because India has the demographic advantage. But it's an advantage if you use it. And I believe that single agenda that India should have, and most of Andhra Pradesh should have, is creating jobs. And that's it. So that's why I'm the chair of the group of ministers to create 2 million jobs in 5 years. And with that single agenda we're working. We are very focused on executing these projects, ensuring that they deliver on the promise of creating jobs in the field.
In your view, and I'm asking this of you as a technocrat, do you see AI helping with that purpose of creating jobs? Because AI does create jobs, but at the very high end, very highly skilled. But with massive numbers like 2 million, which are the population of certain countries, is AI and that job creation target, do they go together or are they kind of opposing each other?
So this is a debate I think that everyone's weighing on.
And right globally, here at Davos as well.
Right here at Davos, even last night we had a session around it. But see, look at history, right? Every industrial revolution has created more jobs than it has replaced. But it's created jobs in countries who have adopted to that revolution. So India has been the biggest beneficiary of the IT revolution. Right? The manufacturing we skipped. So, but manufacturing also went through a lot of transformation. They had robots doing repetitive work.
Yes.
So one can say that jobs were replaced. But then I truly believe that repetitive jobs makes a human very numb. So it's fine that those jobs are replaced, but now we found better blue-collar opportunities across the world. So similarly, countries that adopt, that embrace, education ministers that create good curriculum, expose our children from very young age to the power of AI and capture their imagination, I believe can really create next generation jobs.
What was Mr. Naidu's vision in clubbing HRD and IT into under one hand? Basically the right and left hand, if I may put it that way.
Well, there's a reason why Mr. Naidu is called a visionary. He understood that the future is AI, the future is quantum, and he understood that it's very important to bring a well-educated, a Stanford grad to lead education from the front. So I think it's fair to say it's one of those rare times that even Mr. Naidu is willing to bet political capital on education. And he's now tasked me to revamp curriculum from KG to PG and skill development. And using technology at different levels, age-appropriate level, to do that kind of transformation.
That's a very good term, age-appropriate level, because clearly you don't want to do the wrong things. I want to go back for a moment to the data center bit and then talk about some of the state policies for other sunrise sectors. And this is, are you in a position to talk about who are the companies or likely investors who will do more data centers in the state? Is that at a stage where you can publicly talk about them?
Well, every state in India is watching this interview, so I need to be very careful before I drop any names. No, but there is excitement, and states are competing. But Andhra Pradesh, I believe, has a very strategic advantage, where we are going to be able to build this infrastructure out very well, and we are going to be able to deliver round the clock renewable energy. And that's what I believe will make us very unique.
Are you confident that the global consensus on renewable energy is sustaining? And the reason I ask you this is that in the recent past, from the United States, we have seen a reversal of sorts. Europe, and we are in Europe right now, is on track, but there are questions being asked, for example, for Germany with regard to nuclear power or even thermal power in other parts of the world. Do you think that our focus, both as a nation and the state of Andhra Pradesh, on renewable energy will be sort of part of the global consensus, or are we going to swim against the tide?
I think we are the tide. India is the tide. India, I believe, can be a net exporter of energy. And the reason I believe that is because of renewable energy. While fossil fuels will provide a base load, I believe our peaks can be managed efficiently. We can do a lot more work with solar, wind, pump storage, hydro projects, using renewable energy to create green molecules. Andhra Pradesh has kicked off India's first project, which is green ammonia, where renewable energy is used to make green ammonia, and this is going to be exported to Germany. So we can be a net exporter of energy, and it's going to be very cost effective. We've used renewable energy as a strategy and advantage in our state, and through efficient sourcing, we're able to reduce cost of procurement by close to 8%. That is huge. So I believe renewable energy is here, and India will lead the renewable energy revolution.
The bets that you are placing on frontier technologies, which of them do you expect to fructify? If you could sort of give us a sense of the timelines that we can expect.
So you said right, yes, we are betting on frontier technology, but we are actually betting on 22 such sectors, if I may. So as a state, we believe in the power of clusterization, a very tight vertical and horizontal integration in a cluster. So what do I mean by it? Verticals are all the companies that make the ecosystem, and horizontal is where education plays a very important role.
Yeah.
So ranging from traditional sectors like cement, port, to all the way to automotive valley, and now we're talking about quantum. And these ecosystems are at different maturity level. Quantum, we just started, and we're going to bring India's first 153 qubit quantum computer to Amravati in collaboration with IBM.
Okay.
So all the infrastructure is getting built. But that's where education plays a role. And then we're looking at how do we focus on research, how do we collaborate with IIT Madras. So we are not just about one-off, sort of bringing one-off company or one-off computer, but building that entire ecosystem and cluster, which I believe is going to be very, very important for India to thrive in any sector that we choose.
Since you spoke about clusters, viewers, I can't show it to you, but around me here at the Andhra Pradesh Pavilion in Davos are basically boards that speak about cities. So, for example, Andhra Pradesh being pitched and positioned as the India's gateway to the east. So you can see starting from Mullapeta to Visakhapatnam, Gangavaram, Kakinada, SEZ, Anchorage and Deepwater, then Rava, Machilipatnam, Rayapatnam and Krishnapatnam. Right in front of me are AP's aviation ecosystem, and I can clearly count at least 12 locations starting from Srikakulam right up there down to Tirupati, Puttaparthi and perhaps even down. So
there's a Kuppam.
There is Kuppam too. So,
yes.
There is so much focus on, and Andhra in some ways in geographical terms seems to be blessed. You have one of the longest coastlines and obviously very, very hardworking people. There is a East Coast manufacturing policy, if I understand that correct. Talk to us a bit more about that. What is that and why term it that way? What's the special significance?
See, for India, I believe East has to be very strong. And I believe that in manufacturing, we have a very important role to play. when East is strong, India wins. No second thoughts about it. And the way we've approached it is a very systematic way. So as you rightly said, you've just shared the aviation bit, you've shared the port bit. This is where the tight integration has really worked for us. And looking at it from a pure cluster-based approach is going to be very, very critical. So peppering the state with random projects is no good. We need to go deep.
Random projects which are sometimes chosen elsewhere on account of politics. In the middle of nowhere, you will see a facility which then nobody uses.
Which is fine, provided it's a cluster.
Okay.
So it's important. So I understand that, yes, certain states...
So you're saying even if it's politics, it should have some purpose behind it?
Exactly. There has to be a cluster.
Okay.
And that's what I believe is very, very important. And that is what will make us competitive in manufacturing. Because to be fair, we are learning manufacturing as a nation. And cluster is going to be very, very critical to that. And that's been my approach. So I met one of India's largest glass manufacturer who said he wanted to do a facility in Andhra Pradesh. I said, I'm not excited about a facility, but let's do a glass city.
Oh, wow.
I said glass city. Like what are those companies that actually manufacture the equipment that make glass? Let's start from there. And then you adopt my ITI's polytechnics. Give me the curriculum. I'll run it for you. Let's do skilling for blue collar workers. Because glass is, it's not that straightforward. Curved glass,
yeah, even for the mobile
massive
phone,
spans.
the screen is actually extremely specialized. It may seem to us like an everyday thing, but there is a lot of tech that goes into it.
And that's where research plays a very important role. Education plays a very important role. Skilling plays a very important role. So cluster should be our focus. And yes, on the eastern seaboard, I believe Andhra Pradesh will play a very, very important role going forward.
Sunrise state, the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So there's an underlying message also perhaps there. Okay, before we wrap this up, because this is Davos and I know there's been some criticism of some states, viewers, that they're doing MOUs with Indian businessmen in an international location. I think they're very, very ill-informed because Indian companies are not based in mohallas. Some of our largest companies are actually global companies and they have global footprints and supply chains are global. Your customers are residing globally. So it's in the context of some other state, not for Andhra. Let me just clarify that. But let's also talk about the fact that when I have been having conversation this round of Davos, people keep talking about India's resilience from an economic growth point of view and also political stability. And while the Mumbai as an example pertains to the state of Maharashtra and the municipal elections being won by the ruling party, the broader message is that not double engine, there is a triple engine Sarkar. How is double engine working for you, your party, as a constituent of the NDA, Mr. Naidu as one of the most respected members, from a pushing the growth agenda forward point of view?
See, first I believe India always does well in crisis. And the geopolitical crisis is helping us reshape our policies, forcing all of us to relook at our entire regulatory framework and make us sharper and finer. I think this is a crisis and we're going to use it as an opportunity. Two, while there are quite a few NDA states now in India, all of them have double engine Sarkar, but only Andhra Pradesh has double engine bullet train Sarkar. So, we have Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji who's been guiding us. And then, of course, we have a very experienced Chief Minister with 50 years of experience, Mr. Naidu, who guides us and who challenges our views, who pushes us harder than ever to break our own records on a periodic basis. So that's been very exciting journey. Two, I believe that Andhra Pradesh has a voice at the table. Andhra Pradesh today can positively give feedback on policies, influence policies in the interest of the state, and of course by virtue of being a first mover has the first mover advantage. This is what we have done in data center, this is what we have done in the steel city, and I believe we have a very important role to play, and we've done this in the past.
Yeah, Cyberabad and then so many others tried to follow that and tried to copy it. Absolutely. Political stability, how crucial is it for global investors, foreign investors looking at a country like India?
It is the most important factor. And not just for foreign investors, it's important for domestic investors. It's important for the investors who hail from their respective states also. Because policy consistency is very, very critical. What we're seeing in politics today is a virtual divide, extreme views, polarizing views. So it's very dangerous that when a government is changed, right, the policies are just thrown out. And what are sovereign signed guarantees are not honored. That is very dangerous for a country like India. Andhra Pradesh went through a bad patch. We've come out stronger. But it's important to create robust frameworks where one, policies stand the test of time in politics. Two, it's also important on the electorate to understand, who's doing good work and who's creating jobs and understand the importance of continuity of governments.
So, would you say, in the backdrop of what's happening here in Davos, President Trump is speaking to the global corporate elite here, that as far as Andhra is concerned, business trumps politics?
Well, entrepreneurs are known quite well.
Okay, that's everyone. Entrepreneurs, not entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs, double engine, bullet sarkar, those are all the headline points that I'll try and remember from this conversation.
No, but see, Andhra Pradesh is positioned very well. I believe that we have a very important role to play. Yes, we are a new state. The bifurcation was not fair for us, was not fair on us. And we're learning and we are growing, and Government of India has been supporting us quite well. And I believe that this handholding will help us come out of our tough times, and we will contribute back to the nation. Like how we did with the erstwhile Andhra Pradesh. Today Hyderabad, Telangana has the highest per capita income in India. It's all because of the policies that Mr. Naidu started way back in the 90s. And we're able to contribute back to the nation.
Nara Lokesh Garu, it's always a pleasure talking to you. The backdrop here is Davos. We've done it in a closed room, but I can tell you there's action outside and there is action inside the AP Pavilion. Without doubt, one of the most buzzing states with regard to attracting foreign capital, global investors, and adding to the India story. One final point, brand Andhra Pradesh. Today, if you were to capture it beyond the Sunrise State headline, a few decades ago, Mr. Naidu's actions and his footprint and policies led to a brand being called Cyberabad. What's your ambition of what eventually, with all your efforts, there would be a single word description of brand Andhra Pradesh?
Well, I think we're discovering our journey as we go. But our aspiration is to contribute to the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Vikasit Bharat. So we call it Swarnandhra vision. We will not stop working till we achieve the $2.4 trillion GDP target that our Honorable Chief Minister set out for us. So that's the single agenda that we're working towards.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all the very best for your positive agenda for the development of the state of Andhra Pradesh. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. We'll keep coming back with more. Until then, goodbye.